How are we all? I hope you're very well. I certainly am. It's Sunday, which means obviously you've all been to church, being good God-fearing folk that you are. I'm doing a show with no justice, obviously, because it's Sunday, and we've got the best journalist in the world to watch. Yay! Hello!
Or what? How are we doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I've had a nice chilled out day today. Can't complain.
Have you been doing more degeneracy, I imagine?
Of course, as we do on a Sunday, as we do.
Fair enough. Fair enough. See,
Been
most people,
up to.
really, in order to avoid hell, you should go to church and be a godly person, but you choose the exact opposite.
True, true. I mean, I literally played the game where things were where cards were banned for being satanic. It's a true story.
Nice. I've done fuck all of any note. I've been productive, like I've done some washing and stuff, but that's really boring and no one wants to hear that. So yeah, basically nothing of any worth really to the audience.
Fair enough. Fair
Which
enough.
again is, I mean, I'm giving you nothing to work with there. It's absolute hospital pass of a fucking reply, but you know, there we go.
That's a. So okay, if you've not done much, then you've not done much. It's fair enough. Can't
So I
really.
could make some up. All right, I robbed a bank.
You've been off, having like cheese and wine tasting evening with David Draymond and Kevin Keegan for some reason. I don't know. Them two specifically.
Yeah. Honestly, I had to ask Keegan about why did he do that weird fucking it's a knockout sports thing at the height of his career and nearly fucking end himself. Amazing experience.
Yeah, literally, honestly, and it genuinely inexplicable.
Inexplicable. You can't explain it.
No, exactly. Can't be
Anyway,
explicit.
we're just talking shit now. Which, I mean, to be fair, we're about to watch Laura Koonsberg, so like in keeping, I guess. There's a theme.
True, true. Whoa. You say Laura Koonsberg is an award-winning journalist.
Well, I mean, honestly, it gave me a fucking aneurysm this week. I suppose I should explain for everybody. That's my title was something like I'm the best streamer ever, award-winning streamer or something like that. And there's a reason for that. It's a piss take on an actual thing that happened, which isn't even satire. This week
Nope.
at the British Journalism Awards, Interviewer of the Year was Laura Koonsberg.
Like she's not even the best interviewer on her own show.
Yeah. Quote, the judges said that she was, quote, forensic, politely determined, and never lets her subject off the hook. What the fuck are you talking about? Do you watch the same show as we do? Like, how forensic was it when, oh yeah, she texted Boris Johnson her fucking notes before the interview?
Like that surely must be disqualifying, right?
Like, what the fuck? Oh, it was an accident, honest. I regularly text people full working briefing notes on interviews. Yeah, that's a regular occurrence.
Especially not.
Who hasn't
specific
butt dialed a
politicians.
former Prime Minister their notes before an interview? Come on now.
Especially not former prime ministers who literally everyone knows that she swoons over.
Yeah, literally giggling like a schoolgirl. She
Honestly.
couldn't have thirsted after him more than if she was Nadine Dorris.
That's saying something.
Fuck me. Anyway, so award-winning journalist. Well, I think we should hold her to that standard. Usually I'll pull my punches for the sake of, like, fighting battles. But this is going to be an intolerable episode for everybody, because every 5 seconds I'm going to have to stop and say, forensic! Never lets her off the hook because she's forensic! So, yeah.
I mean, who should get the award for best interviewer? I mean, my top two are probably Victoria Derbyshire and Krishna Guru Murthy.
I think it should be you. You've done more to question fucking opposition leaders than any journalist that I've seen.
It's true. I literally calling out. I mean, if everyone did to Rachel Reeves what I've done to her, then it would have been a lot
We
more
might have a sensible
transparent of an
fiscal
election.
policy.
Yeah.
Maybe. Anyway, so that's what we've got to look forward to. Award-winning journalist Laura. Oh, sorry, I nearly threw up. Oh, hang on. Let me say it again. I'll try. Laura Koonsberg. There you go.
Also, I just noted notice that the bookmark down from there was about George Galloway. Did anybody see him say, "My time of defending the Arabs is over"?
Yeah.
I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, he said the Arab world is dead to me. And then, this beautifully, I wasn't planning on getting to this, but I bookmarked it because I thought it was fucking mental. Honestly, I think possibly the most racist thing I've ever heard him say. Possibly.
Because such takfiri
It's not shared anymore,
Islamist
Papa.
fanaticism.
Oh shit, sorry. I unshared because I was about to share Lauren Koonsberg, award-winning journalist Laura Koonsberg. But anyway, yeah, he's referring to the Syrian situation, the takeover of the country by, let's say, questionable people. But he questions them in... He's found a way of questioning them that's totally illegitimate. Well done, George.
Because such takfiri Islamist fanaticism can never liberate the Arabs, has no wish to liberate the Arabs, doesn't even see itself as Arab. There were only 25,000 fighters in Golani's army, and 5,000 of those were Chinamen. China.
Not even word Chinese. Chinaman. I'm sorry, it's the word Chinaman been used outside of cricket since 1983. Who the fuck says Chinaman?
It's very strange. Also, didn't he call him like Galani? And I'm like, what? Do you mean Jelani?
Well, it's George Galloway. I'm just gonna let him cook. I'm gonna let him cook rice for breakfast. You'll see what I mean in a second.
Chinamen, Uyghurs, who don't even speak Arabic, don't even know who the Arab music stars whose albums they're burning right now, don't even know who they are. Never tasted Syrian hummus or shakshuka. Don't care for it. They eat rice for their breakfast, you see. 5,000!
They eat rice for their breakfast, and apparently that's a problem?
Never tried Syrian hummus, right? You can't. That's true. You can't fight. You can't overthrow a dictator if you don't eat Syrian hummus, right?
True. Well, that's the problem. They didn't condone the hummus.
That's true. They didn't condone the hummus. It's true.
So this guy is a fucking lunatic, and one of the few good points of this entire situation is him being angry about it.
True.
That's something. I'm taking the silver lining.
Yeah,
It's a weird dub, but I'm taking it.
Yeah, there's anything to come from the destabilization of Syria. It's that George Galloway. It's made George Galloway act like a pillock.
Yeah. Like, I can't control the situation generally. I'm just trying to take the silver linings, and one of which is George Galloway is very, very upset. And that's fine. Thank you, Fago, with Bitty Bits. Don't forget you can fund both of our levels of degeneracy in the form of bits and subs and gifted subs and Amazon Prime and becoming a member for 99 pence on the YouTubes and doing super chats, etc.
Indeed, absolutely.
So, shall we go from one award-winning journalist, probably, I don't know, probably won that fucking Syrian, what was it, the award he used to give out to people in the West? Assad's regime used to essentially covertly fund propagandists by giving them journalism awards with a financial prize, because that's not money laundering, technically. Yes, so anyway. I couldn't find this on YouTube because you people who usually put it up didn't put it up yet, so not a lot I can do there. Pardon me. My bad. Yes, let's take a look at Laura Koonsberg talking shite.
problem of our time or failure of political will? Can this government end thousands of dangerous journeys in small boats? I've been in Rome with the Home Secretary who's hailing the biggest number of migrants sent home in years, but won't tell you or me when the number of small boats will fall.
Of course, we want to see the boat crossings come down as rapidly as possible. What we're not going to do is deal this by slogans.
And with us this morning, live in the studio.
That's a good
her
point,
opposite
actually.
number, Chris Philp.
Sugar Horse in chat is recommending people listening to the latest episode of the TrueAnon podcast to talk about the Syrian civil war, which is definitely worth listening to, because one of the people who was on the TrueAnon podcast literally fought in the Syrian civil war as part of the International Freedom Battalion.
Nice. Yes. Have you ever seen a man that looks less trustworthy than this person?
He's a liar.
Well, I mean, he's in Westminster, so I assumed that. But just look at him. He looks like the biggest spiv ever.
Absolute 100% used car salesman vibes.
Yeah.
100%.
Would you vote for this man? Unfortunately, some people did.
Yeah, if it's someone who I really wanted out of fucking Parliament, it's definitely this cunt.
Yeah, he's a bad one.
Shadow Home Secretary, after his party promised and then failed
Shadow
to stop
Home
the boats.
Secretary?
And scary.
What?
Yeah, why not?
What?
Why not? He's wearing Union Jack socks. He's a fucking flag nonce. Oh God.
It's just honestly, like, what the fuck is Christie? Like, how is he Shadow Home Secretary?
Because this party is fucking dead. I mean,
if...
basically, you could just say Kemi Badenoch is the leader of that party, and then anything else you say after that can't seem as ridiculous.
Well, true. Well, yeah, the fact that
if you said Ming the Merciless
discourse,
was in charge of the education for them, it wouldn't seem less weird than that.
Yeah, I guess, and also like the talent in the Conservative Party is pretty thin on the ground.
It's
now.
pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. Yeah. And again, even those that have governmental experience don't really, because they weren't trying to govern. So they don't even know what that means, because they were just trying to fill their own pockets and give money to their friends down the pub. They weren't even trying to govern, so they don't even have talent in some like experience sense, even though they've just been in power for 14 fucking years.
It is remarkable. It is remarkable just how much that their party just it's just fucking done. Like it's been 200 years, and it's like, yeah, we've had it now.
Well, because they stopped in 1979, they stopped being the Conservative Party and became the Reagan Thatcher Party.
Yeah,
and naturally, there's no loyalty or connection to that party from anyone, because their entire thing is there's no honour amongst thieves, and they are just thieves.
Yeah, it's a very good description of them.
Future, fantastic opportunity, or a bit of both. Artificial intelligence is here to stay. The chair of one of the new tech supergiants tells us it will change the world.
OpenAI is a mission-driven company, and our mission is to ensure that artificial general intelligence benefits...
Hang on, was this the same OpenAI where the whistleblower was found to have committed suicide this week?
I forget. There was one, wasn't there? It was some Indian guy.
Yeah, Indian whistleblower guy who definitely, totally, 100% committed suicide this week.
Let me find out.
Honest. Definitely that. Could be a different company, though. They're all scum, so it really doesn't matter which one we're referring to. But I think it was this company.
Yeah, it was OpenAI.
Yeah, there you go.
Suchir Balaji.
So this man, some people have surmised, I would not possibly suggest this man may have ordered the hit on him. Who knows? I don't. I would never say that. That would be a bad and scurrilous thing to say without evidence. I'm just saying some people on the internet have said that that's the case. So this is totally not going to be whitewashing of that at all. No, not at all.
I wonder if it'll even get brought up by Journalist of the Year, Laura Koonsberg.
Well, she is forensic, I hear. So I would imagine it would have to be brought up. It would be strange if it wasn't. Seems like quite an omission from a forensic journalist. Anyway, I also wonder if they're going to bring up Prince Andrew this week. That's interesting, isn't it? Did you hear about
I
Prince
wonder.
Andrew's fantastic wig? In addition to him being a sweaty nonce, we've been through that before. It turns out his friends really are just a cavalcade of the worst human beings who have ever lived. Massive friends with Jeffrey Epstein, as aforementioned. And also it turns out one of his key advisors was literally outed this week as a Chinese spy.
Excellent. Of course they are. Why would they not be?
Yeah. Why is he not in jail? Why is he not in jail? He should be in jail. Forever.
Honestly. Oh, by the way, for the rest of the show, we have to call her award-winning journalist Laura Koonsberg. If we ever name her, we have to specifically use that phrase throughout the whole episode.
No, that's fair enough. After all, she is award-winning, so it would be silly
exactly.
not to.
Fits all of humanity.
And forget the future for a second, we'll revel in
Sorry,
the
no,
recent
you're
past.
quite right. I apologise. I got the nationality slightly wrong there. It's a Chinaman spy. You're quite right. I apologise to award-winning journalist George Galloway.
It's our last show of 2024, so we'll take a look back
Oh, I
at this
forgot about
month's
the rain. Oh, I forgot he did that. Oh, that's a beautiful little memory I've just been reminded of. He stood in the rain to announce he was coming to the country for Prime Minister to a general election. I'd totally forgotten. That was this year. Oh,
What's this year? You know what else
God,
was this year?
time flies when your country's collapsing.
The AI-generated Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory experience that was terrible.
Yeah.
That was this year.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, we've had some belters this year. Absolutely lovely work. Oh.
antics and the huge changes the last 12 months have brought. Still standing at the end of a crazy year, Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Greater Manchester,
Socialist
Susanna Reid,
king.
broadcaster and journalist, and James Reid, the boss of the Jobs Group, Reid Group. A very warm welcome to our panel and to you.
Do they just... Is it like BBC policy that they just have to have random capitalist wanker of the week on the panel?
Absolutely.
Just pointless.
Adhering to the one acceptable ideology.
Yeah, well, true. I mean, they are definitely job creators because they're creating their own jobs as talking heads on these fucking panels. So that's something.
Morning, morning. Let's start, as we always do, by what's making the news today. The Sunday Times and Sunday Telegraph both splash with more extraordinary claims about China's spying efforts in the UK, catching out not just Prince Andrew, but
Oh, they
Prime
did
Minister.
mention it. Oh my god. So is Laura Koonsberg going to get killed commit suicide this week? Oh my god. She mentioned the thing. Oh no.
And also, it's funny the
Oh,
framing.
sorry.
though, is
Award-winning
that-
journalist Laura Koonsberg has committed suicide tomorrow.
It's funny the framing there, where award-winning journalist Laura Koonsberg said, "Oh, well, Andrew was caught out." No, he wasn't caught out. He was fucking.
He was best mates with him.
him.
Like, and it's not like he's got a completely spotless record and this is the one blip. And you could go, oh, let him off now. No, this isn't even the worst friend he had. This is one of his
fly in the
better
ointment.
friends. This was one of the more respectable, worthwhile people he had in his circle. of apparently, like, super evil. I don't know. It's fucking mad. Unbelievable. Is it regular that your mum has to pay off the victims of your definitely not child rape? Because that's what happened to Andy. His now late mother. Can we get some lols and Jeff Hurstle being fucking dead? Paid, was it £12 million of public money? To
I have no idea.
definitely not pay off the definitely not rape victim of Andrew.
Just love the royal family.
Normal,
Brilliant.
very normal stuff. Very normal. So I mean, by comparison, opening up national secrets to Chinese spies, not as bad, actually. You know?
Very normal behaviour for a very normal island.
True.
And on the front there, of course, a photograph of Chris McCausland with the Strictly Glitter Ball. The Observer and the Mirror both lead with fears about the government's housing plans, but the Eye and BBC are both leading with Yvette Cooper's challenges on migration, and we'll hear from her in a few minutes. Let's start, though, with you, and very warm welcome to all of you, with these extraordinary revelations about China spying in the UK, catching out Prince Andrew, Susanna.
Although, does that come as a huge surprise? I mean, Prince Andrew has, as we have seen from his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, slightly questionable.
Wow, another journalist is going to commit suicide this week. Are there going to be any journalists left? It's going to be like fucking...
It is
going to be like the end of a Tarantino movie. It's ridiculous.
It is funny to me that Susanna Reid, right, who's supposed to be like the happy, friendly, cuddly, presenter on the Good Morning Britain, incredibly like lowbrow journalist, and she's like the only person who ever just says the thing out loud.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like,
yeah, everyone else is ignoring the elephant in the room. She's like, "So there's an elephant in the room."
So what about this elephant over there? And it's like, yeah, exactly. He was friends with Jeffrey Epstein. Like when she interviews people on interviews like government ministers on the morning program, on the morning round, she's just like, yeah, well, this is going to kill people, then, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. There's a brutal simplicity to just asking the simple question. Don't give them a way of wriggling out of it. Just be like, "Oh, so pensioners are going to freeze to death then?" But in the most like happy tone you can possibly muster at 7 in the morning.
She started talking about wealth taxes to one of them. Just like, well, you should have wealth tax. You should tax people's wealth. I was like, yes, take the Corbyn pill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Judgment when it comes to who he associates with. So, these problems don't seem to afflict the King or Princess Anne or Prince Edward, but Prince Andrew, out of all the royals, is the one who seems to make those kinds of mistakes.
Does seem to have a bit of a knack for getting into trouble. I mean, Andy, you've got a big job now as Mayor of Greater Manchester. You had big jobs in government. When you're in a big high-profile position, does anybody sort of whisper in your ear and say, be careful about who you meet, be careful about who you're photographed with?
Yes.
I mean, literally, yes. Literally, there are civil servants their entire job is to ensure that government ministers comply with the National Secrets Act, also the Official Secrets Act. Yeah. So, in other words, it's their entire job to make sure that they don't randomly sidle up to let's say, a Chinese spy and start blurting out nuclear codes. Yeah.
What about
know that? The thing is, Laura Kuenssberg knows that. Award-winning journalist Laura Kuenssberg forensically knows that that's true, but is forensically pretending not to know that so she can ask a stupid question. Brilliant.
Although, to be fair, Chinese spies is one thing, but what about the sons of ex-KGB agents? What about them?
Oh, ex-Russian spies.
Yeah. Russian, man.
Ex-Ruskies, yeah. No, that's fine. That's fine. You can text them briefing notes as well if you want, accidentally. Totally accidentally.
Put them in the House of Lords.
Yeah. He forensically put them in the House of Lords. And she forensically didn't mention it, ever. Brilliant.
They do. And that's why this is quite a security breach. I'm staggered, really, what's being reported today. Because, even in my organisation now, people will do due diligence before meetings take place, but absolutely at the heart of government, the Prime Minister obviously should have the highest level of screening, if you like, before people get through to meet you. You can be out on the campaign trail, Laura, sometimes, and a photo taken with somebody you don't know or at a party conference. That's a little different. Having a meeting in a government building is, I would say, quite a serious breach, and there are big questions, I would say, for the security services here. And
David Cameron and Theresa May, it's been reported, also met this Chinese spy, although their officers both say they don't remember it and nothing serious was discussed. But James,
well, that's because of the memory ray he used on them. He was like Men in Black. Boom! And you forget everything. So it works. That's how the Chinamen operate. Oh, anyone who missed the start is going to think I am seriously racist. Whereas actually it's just former Member of Parliament George Galloway who was very racist.
Tricky, isn't it, this relationship with China? Because we need China for the economy, for your world of creating jobs and business. But then also, politicians want to sup with a long spoon because of things like this.
Well, it's a case of be careful who your friends are, I think. And it's interesting this because looking at the paper, the Chinese spy's face is faded out, which isn't helpful to people who might want to know who the Chinese spy is. so I'm wondering, who this person is, and they might be sidling up to at any point saying, how are you getting on? So, and that's true of all walks of life, really. We have a screening business that checks people out, based in Manchester, funny enough, employs over 100 people. And finding out, we'll do our best, we'd like to. And
Jesus fucking Christ. This is, honestly, it's insufferable. So this guy's just on here like, I'm super awesome, I employ loads of people in Manchester.
Yeah, just a big up to advertise using the mainstream, the marquee interview program, just to like advertise himself.
For award-winning forensic journalist who never lets their victim off the hook. Victim?
Yeah.
That's the weird phrasing, Kev. Anyway.
but it's so important to know who someone is and who you can trust, and more now so than ever.
Well, it's a story of our times, I think. Certainly not the first and probably not the last of its kind. All three of you will be back with you in...
It's the story of our time. You know, spying has been a thing forever. Like, there were literally British spies that we know were in charge of finding the Soviet spies within MI5, who was himself a Soviet spy. The Cambridge spies were not like an aberration. They basically ran our secret service for decades. Like, what the fuck are you talking? And not just that, but again, it's the British class system. One of them was literally a former Communist Party member, and they knew he was, but because he was a posh lad, he was just assumed he was fine.
I didn't know that.
So he's literally, everyone should look into the Cambridge spies. It's an amazing story of like how class privilege just allowed these dickheads to slip through the net for decades. Mad. So look, as I literally, our counterintelligence department for seeking out Soviet moles was a Soviet mole.
Incredible. Did only Britain things.
Beautiful. And we didn't even expose it. You know who exposed it? America. Because one of the senior advisors to the British ambassador in Washington, D.C. was a Soviet spy!
Incredible. Incredible.
So the Americans uncovered it for us. Thanks.
Honestly, it's such a shame that the USSR fell just because it created peak memes elsewhere.
Oh my god, the memeage would have been off the charts.
Yeah.
A while, because being the Home Secretary is both a dream and a nightmare for politicians. These days, they have to try and solve a problem way beyond police or public order here, that treacherous trade that smuggles human cargo to the UK, alongside what we've just been talking about, a more and more complicated patchwork of espionage and people trying to target the UK for bad reasons. Yesterday...
Do we think they're sending in Chinese spies via a small boat? Is that the suggestion here? Because I really think they could probably just send them on a fucking plane. Like, I don't think it's an issue. Although, to be fair, the dogs that are sniffing out the rubber, what we could do is get them to sniff out the fried rice that they have for breakfast. Right? Makes a lot of sense. Because they can't smell hummus, but they can smell rice. That is how dogs work.
We travelled to Rome with the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, where she was meeting her Italian opposite numbers. And we talked about small boats and spies.
Well, we have huge expertise in our intelligence and security agencies. They monitor for not just risks around terror threats, but also threats from hostile states, from different state actors, different challenges to our UK security. And that's the bread and butter of what they do. They do an extremely good job, and where they raise cases, we take action on them, and we will continue to do so.
Is this a threat that is becoming more grave? However, I mean, the head of MI5 recently said there was a lot of evidence of patient, well-funded and deceptive campaigns, and he did say threats from sabotage and espionage are becoming more serious.
I wonder if Israel are involved in any of these schemes. Or do they even need to at this point?
Yeah,
or do we just fax it over to them?
Well, one of the things that the head of MI5 has made clear, and it's certainly something that I have seen in the course of this job, is that the kind of challenges to the UK's security have become much more complex. So you have different patterns of action from China, also more direct threats ranging from cybersecurity or the use of criminal proxies from countries like Russia and from Iran.
What would your message, though, be to the Chinese state? I mean, the Prime Minister met President Xi not so long ago, the first such meeting to take place in a while. But what would your message be to the Chinese state?
I don't know if you saw this, Kev.
Well,
I don't know
we
if
will
you saw this.
continue.
What did I not say?
But when they did a speech together, Keir Starmer and Xi Jinping, Xi Jinping genuinely said this real phrase: Keir Starmer is doing an excellent job for Britain because he needs to fix the foundations.
I seem to recall. I think I did see something about this. Yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous. Like, I realise you've got to sort of glaze up the opposition on these sorts of endeavours. But do we think that that's a phrase that he gave to Xi to use, or do you think the Chinese themselves knew that that's what he'd want him to say?
They're just memeing. He's like, yeah, he's fixing the foundations, isn't he? He's fixing those foundations are going to be so fixed. They'll be so fixed. You'll never see more fixed foundations.
Bigly, yeah. It'd be funny if the actual translation was like, he's fixing the foundations by having 6 plans and missions and a roadmap to a plan to change to, just the whole fucking range of a million different nonsense terms he's come up with.
Or if Xi Jinping's just been given message discipline by Morgan McSweeney.
Yeah, true.
To take a very strong approach to our national security. That includes to any challenge to our national security, including to our economic security from China, from other countries around the world. That will always be the approach that we will take. Of course, with China, we also need to make sure we have that economic interaction, economic cooperation in place as well. So it's a complex arrangement.
Let's then talk about asylum and why you are here. What are you hoping to achieve during this visit?
Well, this is part of a programme of work that we are determined to take forward to restore order and control both to our borders and also to our asylum and immigration systems. We face the dangerous boat crossings in the Channel, which undermine border security and put lives at risk. And we've been very clear, we need to go after the criminal gangs that organise and profit from them. Those gangs operate across borders, and that is why law enforcement and governments need to operate across borders.
Well, I mean, I'll answer the actual question. It's the same reason that Keir Starmer, one of his first trips was to Italy. It's because the far right love Giorgia Meloni, and they're trying to court that vote for some reason. And so this is a quick shorthand way of saying, look, we're learning from the fascists how to do a fascism. So because you defeat reform by becoming worse than reform.
Despite the fact that half of Labour voters at the last election said their second choice would be a left-wing party.
Yeah, because but they don't care about that. They couldn't give two shits. They just want to be more right-wing.
As well. So that's why I'm here talking to the Italian Interior Minister, just as I've been talking earlier in the week to the French, the German, the Belgian and Netherlands Interior Ministers in the Calais group about our stronger cooperation on law enforcement and why we've got new agreements in place, both with Germany and with the Iraqi government as well.
How can viewers, though, have confidence that that approach is the right one, when actually during your time in charge, the number of boats making that dangerous crossing, putting lives at risk, has increased? And also the number of hotels being used to house people who've come to the UK without permission in the UK, that's gone up too. So why should people think you're taking the right approach?
Well, what we inherited from the first half of this year, the first half of the year had record high levels of boat crossings. Had that continued, we were on track really for the worst year ever for small boat crossings. Had that continued, we would have had many thousands more crossings over the course of the summer and through the autumn. As it is, we're around a quarter lower than 2022. That was the peak year. But look, that is no comfort when you still have these small boat crossings where we've got lives being put at risk and huge numbers of lives being lost, and also these criminal gangs are profiting from the undermining our border security.
And the numbers have gone
well.
up during your time in charge. So, and I'm aware, we're coming up to the 6-month milestone.
Like, no one's convinced by any of this. The Labour Party don't listen to me because I'm a socialist filth, obviously, but no one's convinced that you believe any of this.
No, it's funny in that I don't think that anyone doesn't see through it.
Yeah.
Both on the left and on the right. I'm sure the right, because again, a lot of people on the right just don't think that these people have any right to be here, which is obviously not true because they're asylum seekers. They can arrive by regular means if they want to. Like, that's not a problem. And everyone from the Liberal side just looks at them and goes, well, they're just trying to ape reform voters, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. What's this? The US... when the Soviet Union built the US embassy in Moscow in the 1960s, and they bugged the bricks. Amazing. That's
incredible.
Some fucking that is some 1960s shit right there. It's like some Austin Powers nonsense. Anyway, yeah, sorry, thank you for that. Soviet Union never change. And it won't, because it doesn't exist anymore.
Exists in my heart, Kev.
Well, yes.
But the numbers, compared to the first half of the year, we had record highs. We haven't had that record high level. That could have taken us potentially up to 50,000 crossings this year. We haven't had that, but let's be clear, the scale of the boat crossings that we're seeing is deeply damaging, undermines border security and puts lives at risk.
I suppose the question, though, that our viewers watching and listening to you today have, though, is when will they see a difference? People see the numbers continuing to go up. People see more hotels being used to house people without permission in their towns. People arrive without support. That can have a very detrimental effect on them as individuals. You've said to yourself before, that doesn't work for anyone. So when can people expect to see a difference? When can you expect to see the numbers of small boats coming down if your approach is the right one?
Just briefly on the asylum hotels, and let me come back to the border security issue. The last few months before the election, and we were not aware of the scale of what the government was doing, they had just effectively crashed the asylum system. So asylum decisions dropped by around 70%, asylum interviews dropped by around 80%. So that meant in July, we had then suddenly a soaring backlog, a whole series of cases stacked up. We've had to manage that through the summer. That's had an impact on asylum accommodation, but we do now have the asylum decisions are back up to where they were. We do now have the asylum backlog coming down because we're clear we need to be taking people out of asylum hotels. We need to be clearing that backlog and ending the use of asylum hotels and also saving hundreds of millions of pounds, if not billions of pounds for the taxpayer.
But you've been opening more.
So,
what's interesting,
that's the result of the
this is the closest I've come to seeing any government minister, both Labour or Tory, admit that the people in the hotels have a right to be here as asylum seekers, right? They're not just being housed for the lulz. They're being housed because they're waiting for an asylum decision. I feel like this is something that's just not being communicated. And the public just think that the government, for some reason, have just decided that they want to put these people in hotels.
Yeah, what's the alternative? Just have them on the streets?
Exactly. Like, I think they think that these people just should get deported. I think there's a lot of people in the country who don't realise that the people in the hotels are asylum seekers who've come here under the Refugee Convention and just think they are quote-unquote illegals arriving here because they want free stuff and we should get rid of them because the hotels... I genuinely don't think they understand why the hotels are being used in the way that they are. Because, of course, the Tories never explained it because they wanted to use these people as a political wedge. And all it's done is to destroy the Tory brand as being mean to asylum seekers.
Yeah. Exactly. The thing that they won 100% of the time on. Like, they've always been, with minus Reform and UKIP, I suppose, they've always been, like, 50 points ahead on immigration when it comes to polling, right? They've been so far ahead. And they've taken that huge advantage they had and completely thrown it away. The issue that they were totally unimpeachable on in the British public's eyes, and now no one trusts the fucking word they have. So they've got nothing. No, they're not economically particularly fiscally prudent. So your small tax, one nation Tory doesn't like them anymore. The immigration thing, they've completely lost control of. Sort of purposefully thinking that it would play for them, and it's played completely against them. Basically, they've hollowed out every last voter they have. And to the point now that it's just the pensioners, it's just the boomers, and even Kimmy Badenoch's like, let's get rid of the triple lock.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
and like maternity pay. Honestly, you could never have concocted a strategy of conservative self-immolation better than they themselves have concocted this one.
It's amazing. Absolutely fucking incredible. Brilliant stuff. Thank you, Kieran, for Bitty Bits. And yes, indeed, yeah, the weather has far more control on the fucking amount of votes that come across.
True.
If the water's flat, they're coming. It's happening. Deal with it. By opening up safe and legal routes so they don't have to.
What we've inherited with the collapse in decision making. So it is really important we've now got the backlog coming down, because that is part of just restoring order to the system rather than the chaos that we had. Come back to the issue around the border security. What's been interesting in Italy is they have worked on prevention. They have worked with other countries. They've worked with countries across North Africa. They have seen, as a result of the work they've done, a more than 50% reduction in Mediterranean boat crossings. And they've been clear that you need to combine strong law enforcement and prevention work as well. But the one thing you will hear the Italian Prime Minister say repeatedly is, no country can do this alone. We have to work together.
You gave there the example.
Well, that and the thing about the Jews running the world. She says that quite a lot. In private mostly, but let's be honest.
It's clearly something she has belief. The thing is, when Laura Koonsberg said, or when Yvette Cooper says, oh, well, Italy are working with countries in Northern Africa. I'm like, well, yeah, they're working with like people running slave markets.
Yeah,
they're like communicating with people who are essentially going to be holding refugees at gunpoint on the coast. Like they're not doing good deals. They're doing pretty awful shit. Zoe Gardner's done some really good work on the kind of depraved deals that's been made between Tunisian and Italian authorities.
Yeah, but the average Reform voter doesn't care. The average Reform voter would be happy to see machine gun nests posted on beach on the south coast.
True.
And that's not a joke, everyone. That's legitimately true. Whether they'd necessarily admit it or not, I'm not sure, but they would be.
Well, that Italy, who's been able to cut their number of arrivals significantly by working more with other countries. But I do think the question that people want to know is, when will they see a difference? And, this government now seems to be fond of giving us timelines and targets and milestones, or whatever you want to call them. So when can people expect to see a difference, to see the number of boats crossing coming down?
You can't put a milestone in the sea, you dopey bitch. That's a land thing. You put a boy, BYOU. Not like we're actually putting like children in the sea because of our policy or anything like that. No, you put boys every mile, so it's a mile boy. That's what you have in the sea. God.
To see the number of asylum hotels coming down to.
Well, we're already reducing the backlog. So we are already on the asylum backlog.
Yes, that's a different question.
So go back to the boat. So on the asylum backlog and the hotel use, we are already making progress, and we are already bringing the backlog down. And so we expect to continue to make progress on that through the winter.
But
on
to be
the boat
clear, also with
crossings,
people, reducing the backlog also means allowing more people to stay. And those people also will need housing, they'll need health, they'll need jobs.
Well, it also means increasing returns.
Whoa. She says they're going to need jobs, as if we don't have like a labour shortage. Yeah, they need jobs. We have loads of spaces in our labour market that they can do. Great, brilliant, get them working.
Yeah. Also, award-winning journalist. Forensic in her knowledge and detail.
Literally, honestly, yeah, you can just feel how strongly she must be winning this award right now.
Honestly, she's never won the award more brilliantly. Sensational work.
One of the biggest changes that we have seen since the election is we moved people who were working on the failing Rwanda scheme that had sent 4 volunteers to Kigali. They had 1,000 people working on that scheme, that completely failed scheme. We have moved people in. We've actually moved around 1,000 people into returns and enforcement. And as a result of that, we're now on track for over 13,000 removals, returns since the election, a big increase in returns and also a big increase in the raids on illegal working, a big increase on arrests and enforcement, because the rules have to be respected and enforced. They just haven't been for far too long. But I will...
Hang on, is she talking about Israel now? But the rules have been enforced for far too long. No, just migrants. Okay.
I'll ask you again, when can our viewers expect to see the number of people making small boat crossings, putting their lives at risk trying to get to the UK?
Next Tuesday.
When can they expect that to come down?
So of course we want to continue to see progress. Of course we want to see the boat crossings come down as rapidly as possible. What we're not going to do is deal this by slogans. So, you know, Rishi Sunak did say
it's not about slogans. But Home Secretary...
We're not going to deal with slogans. We're going to fix the foundations, okay?
You'll smash the criminal gangs.
Smash the criminal gangs. Dad was a tool maker, etc.
£22 billion black hole.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
Secretary, this is not about slogans. When it comes to something like waiting lists in the NHS, the government's very happy to put targets publicly on that and say, measure us by whether we hit those. When it comes to kids' education, the government's been very happy to put a target on that, saying, judge us by this measure. When it comes to this issue, you won't give us a yardstick by when we could know when people can actually expect there'll be a significant difference. Why not? Because it makes it feel like it's not a priority to the government in the way that some other issues are.
Well, quite the opposite. We've made clear that the border security is actually one of the foundational issues before you even get to any of the missions. It's one of the big foundations, and we've been clear we need to reduce illegal migration.
It's so funny to me. Well, we're not really governing by slogans. Anyway, border security is one of our foundations. Yeah. Before we get to the missions, we've got the foundations. This is part of our foundational beliefs in border security. Is that not a slogan that you're using there, Yvette?
Look, it's definitely one of our 5 key missions for the milestones for the plan to have a concept of a plan. It's bollocks. God, these people are fucking insufferable.
And illegal migration that we need to be, it's the clear priority for the government in terms of tackling these dangerous boat crossings. There is a history of Home Secretaries and Prime Ministers making grand promises but never actually having a proper plan. The approach we're taking to this is really step by step. We are putting in place the things that we need, the agreements with other countries, the stronger returns arrangements, the much stronger law enforcement, the operations with Germany to go after the smuggler supply chains, the operations with Italy to go after the illicit finance.
But you're asking people to be patient then with the existing situation.
Well, I think we're being...
Okay. Again, incredible award-winning journalism. Like, yeah, actually you sort of do. We've tried doing the short-term fix bullshit, or indeed the no term whatsoever, no fix bullshit.
The sticking plaster politics.
Yeah, the sticking plaster politics that has so marred the foundations that we need to fix the foundations, etc., etc. Yeah, it will actually take some time. In order to stop these problems, I mean, there are some simple things they could do, which they're not going to, like open up safe and legal routes. But in order to smash the gangs, yeah, you will need significant amount of time and, like, delicate behind-the-scenes work that the public can't really be made aware of for, you know, operational security measures. You know, they've been in charge for 5 months. You can't realistically expect a problem that was created over that many years to be solved this quickly. I don't want to give them any benefit of the doubt because they're fucking trash. But you've got to be realistic. They can only do so much in a relatively short space of time, especially when the seas have been calmer because they took over in the summer, where generally the weather is nicer and crossings are going to be much more possible. Come winter time, when the fucking seas are, 20 feet tall, they're not going to be coming over on boats. That's really the issue here, you know?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And that's the thing. Is that the crux of this question from award-winning journalist Laura Koonsberg is that well, you're putting figures on other things, but you're not putting figures on this. And I was like, well, yeah, because we can control what happens with our economy mostly, right?
Yeah.
If we want to make an economic target that we just want to invest more money into, then we can do that. We can't just know how many asylum seekers, right? There might be I don't know, let's say that the Central African Republic invades Uganda or some shit, right? And there might be a huge new burst of refugees from the Central African Republic's invasion of Uganda. And that's going to be something we wouldn't know. And then we feel we missed that target. Well, what's mitigating circumstances? No. It's perfectly reasonable, as somebody who hates the Labour government, it's perfectly reasonable for them to say, well, we want to see the numbers go down, and here is the strategy we're in place, but I can't give you a time in which we're going to see these people drop because this is an imperfect science.
Yeah, exactly.
Being very clear and straight with people about the complexity of this, because the gimmicks did not work. What we had previously was a whole lot of gimmicks. Everybody promised it was going to solve it immediately, and what we're doing is the very serious action. We've already substantially increased. We've had over 25% increase in terms of the returns. We're having over 30% increase in enforcement raids. So we're already increasing step by step. But of course, this is complex, and of course, this takes time.
What you, though, call gimmicks, other people call strong deterrence.
Yeah,
now,
but it wasn't,
we know
was
that
it?
you ditched the Conservatives' Rwanda plan, and frankly...
The strong deterrent bollocks. So you're literally just doing Tory propaganda? Award-winning journalist?
No, but Kev, she just said that some may say that that's a thing, right? She wasn't saying that that's her own personal beliefs.
Well, some might say that an award ceremony giving this fucking loser the Interviewer of the Year award is an embarrassing shambles and an indictment of the entire organisation that would do that. I'm not saying that. Some people would say that.
Yeah, some might say, exactly.
Our viewers know no one can tell whether it worked or not because it didn't happen. Conservatives say it would have had an effect. You say it was a disaster and it never would have done.
It ran for
we
2.5 years.
But we will never know.
2.5 years, £700 million,
but we'll never
and
know.
4 volunteers that they sent to
ask
Rwanda.
you,
I mean, that is just a total failing scheme.
But we'll never know because it didn't happen. However, you...
Forensic! She's being forensic with her Tory propaganda.
It's easy. Like, genuinely, I would just imagine being Yvette Cooper going there. It's like, well, no, they tried and it didn't work, and they couldn't get people out, and it was internationally illegal, and they did manage to get some volunteers to go, and that's it. Or we have no idea whether it worked or not. We saw it. It didn't fucking work. Yeah. I'm sorry. Like, you can't just say to Yvette Cooper, like, the opposite of reality.
Forensic. Forensic.
You said on our programme a while ago that you were interested in the idea of using another country maybe for processing claims. Italy, where we're speaking today,
France?
Has started, not with huge success, but to use Albania to process people. Are you still in principle...
speaking of Albania, the World Cup qualification groups came out. England are in the same group as Albania and Serbia.
Ooh.
Albania, Serbia is going to be fun.
It is going to be very funny.
I wonder if it'll literally start a war. It's possible.
Open to the idea of using other countries as sites where people who want to live in the UK could have their claims looked at and processed, to use the jargon. Are you still interested in that?
So we will look at whatever works. Clearly, everything has to meet proper international standards. Clearly, something has to be effective and has to deliver results. The interesting thing about the Italy-Albania arrangement, and you're right, that hasn't fully started yet. The interesting thing about that is that at the heart of it is a plan to effectively fast-track cases from predominantly safe countries. We are interested in doing that in the UK, is to fast-track decisions for people arriving from countries that are predominantly safe, where we should be able to take those decisions very swiftly and also be able to return people very swiftly. That hasn't happened in the past, so we are interested to develop that in the UK. We think that's an important principle.
But potentially you might still be interested in looking at other countries for processing.
We will look at whatever works, but I think the key thing is to be just really practical.
France would work. That's where they're coming from. They're coming from France. Get their claims checked in France. Get them a safe route to come over from France.
Are you sure they're coming from France? I mean, they could be coming from anywhere. I don't know.
Like, you're swimming all the way around. Like, they're swimming, like, from Yemen all the way through, up the Red Sea, and through the Suez Canal, and then all the way across Mediterranean, right? And
exactly.
then round...
And amazingly, they could have just stopped in Gibraltar. That's British territory. But they decided to go all the way around. They went all the way around Iberia, and then past Brittany, all the way to Dover.
Exactly. And not even Land's End. They came all the way up to Dover.
Yeah, good for them.
And that's why we've been focusing on the law enforcement, on being able to take out some of the criminal gangs, but also to be able to fast track those decisions and returns.
On the flip side, though, if you speak to refugee groups or someone like your old colleague, David Miliband, they would say, actually, this is about a historic movement of peoples desperate for a better life. And the only way to deal with this properly is to open up more safe routes where people can come more easily to the UK or other Western countries. But you won't look at that. Why not?
Well, we have always had different kinds of safe ways.
What's frustrating at that, because the idea of a safe route is a very reasonable question, and I'm surprised that award-winning journalist Laura Koonsberg has actually asked this, considering how award-winning she is. But the fact that she was quoting it, oh, well, it's just people who are moving and searching for a better life, that makes them sound like economic migrants, when they're not. If your asylum claim is a victim of persecution, you're not looking for a better life. As the person from Question Time a couple of weeks put it back, you're looking for a life, you know?
Yeah, but no, she's forensic in always framing things in the worst possible way.
True.
Is for resettlement and for support for refugees. That will always continue to be the case, because whether that be around Ukraine, whether that be around the work that we have done on Afghanistan, whether that be on Hong Kong, all of that's important. So all countries should do their bit to help those who have fled persecution and conflict. But whatever you do on that side, unless you go after the criminal gangs, then this kind of smuggling and trafficking will continue, because the gangs have a criminal industry. They will just advertise for more places. So therefore, that's why I think you've got to go after the criminal gangs in order to deal with this.
Even one of your own ministers said it was like whack-a-mole. You know, you take out a gang somewhere and they pop up somewhere else. So are you really confident that law enforcement alone and returns is going to actually solve this problem in an effective way and make
hang on a minute.
Big difference? Because you've got
just no scrutiny of the fact that she didn't answer the question.
But she never lets the interviewer off the hook, ever. She's forensic. She's an award-winning forensic journalist. She would never allow that.
Exactly. Why would an award-winning journalist completely forget to scrutinise somebody who's not answered the question directly? Because again, the whole point of saying, what about safe and legal routes? Oh, well, okay, we've got safe routes for Afghanistan and for Hong Kong and Ukraine, but we don't have them for loads of other countries where people are coming from and are fleeing genuine persecution. And that's why they have to rely on the criminal gangs you want to smash. And so you could break the demand by allowing these people safe routes to get here. That would stop the boats. It would stop the boats overnight. But she's not answering that, is she?
No.
Critics on the left and right who say what you're putting forward, fine, that's what everybody would want to do. You want to enforce the law, you want to work with other countries. But what you're putting forward is not radical enough to tackle a problem of this scale.
Well, if you go back six years or so, there were barely any boat crossings across the Channel. Since then, an entire criminal industry has grown up along our border, organising these boats, bringing in these flimsy plastic boats from China or Turkey or across the continent, supplying the engines, huge financial money networks that they use in order to take the payments for it. This is a criminal industry. They've got advertising online, on TikTok, on Facebook and so on. That criminal industry has grown up in the space of 6 years and been allowed to take hold. We should not be allowing those gangs to get away with it. And that's why I do think very strongly it is right to be going after those criminal gangs, not to just shrug our shoulders and say, oh, well, the criminal organised smuggler gangs will always be with us and therefore we should do nothing. We have a responsibility, a moral responsibility.
Yvette, they only exist because there is a demand for their services. How do you break the demand? By having safe and legal routes.
Yeah, basically, that's the basic gist of it. But that would be crazy leftoidism.
True.
Thank you, Fago, with Bitty Bits. I don't know what you mean by that message, but I appreciate it nonetheless.
to go after those gangs who are putting lives at risk. When you see these flimsy boats, the way that it's women and kids who get put in the middle of the boat. So when the boat folds, they are the people who get crushed, who end up drowning. This incredibly dangerous boats in the Channel, and it undermines our border security. So I do believe we have to go after the criminal gangs. You'll hear the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, will talk about...
People in the comments later, can somebody go back and do a tally of how many times she said the words criminal gangs and border security?
Quite a number of times, I imagine. Award-winning Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper.
the work that he did.
But we're not doing slogans.
When he was
No.
the Director of Public Prosecutions to go after
Whoa.
terrorists.
Breaking news. He was what, sorry? He was Director of Public Prosecutions. Really? The Crown Prosecution Service? Good God. He's a dark horse, isn't he? Oh, there's a story behind him that he's not told. Telling you.
I don't think there's a single person watching who would think that you should just let the gangs do this. But do you really think that you can end that trade once and for all?
So I do believe that you can tackle this trade of organised gangs, and partly because what I've seen...
Mad Cat says that she's going to go back and find all of the time she said criminal gangs, which is mental, and I appreciate that.
Through, the talking to other countries, the work that we've done looking at France, Germany, the visit to Iraq as well, actually I think our law enforcement across borders has been far, far too weak. You can see all kinds of different areas where we could...
Isn't she married to Ed Balls? I'm being asked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Famous Twitter user Ed Balls, yes.
Absolutely. Award-winning morning interviewer Ed Balls.
Yeah. A man who definitely knows how to use Twitter very effectively.
Do you know he once interviewed Yvette Cooper for Good Morning Britain?
Yeah, which is totally fine and normal. We don't live in a weird fucking oligarchy joke situation.
Love it.
Be operating much more strongly between us.
Just one final question, if I may, because it's the first time we've spoken to you since the election, and you're one of the few government ministers who's gone back into government. You'd done it before. I think it's fair to say it's been quite a bumpy time. Would it have been better if more of your colleagues had had experience in government like you?
If you're asking me, would it have been better if we hadn't had 14 years in opposition, then yes, I strongly agree with you, and then more people would have had recent experience, because 14...
It's very funny. The thing that's happening right now is very funny. That's why they're laughing, you see. It's very funny.
Also, just maybe tried to, at any point, prepare for the fact that you were going to be in government, because everybody knew you would be.
Yeah, it's not bumpy because they didn't have government experience, although that probably didn't help. But that's sort of why civil servants kind of exist, to a degree anyway. Yeah, if you had any plans in any departments whatsoever, that would have been good. Yeah. Not just, let's set up a quango for literally everything. Shall I scratch my left ball bag or my right ball bag before we get going? You know what? I'll set up a quango, a ball bag quango, to decide.
Inshallah.
15 years of opposition, has been a tough period. But what it also means, though, is I do think we have inherited actually is a much more difficult situation than in 97 when I was first elected. A lot of damage had been done in 97, but that is nothing compared to really the damage, the chaos really throughout the system, damage to the economy, to the public finances, the scale of damage to the public finances and to our public services. We've seen it in policing, but the NHS, I see in my own constituency, the huge damage to the NHS. That is a challenge to deal with that. That leads to much more serious challenges than I think we faced last time round. But that's why I think we've been so determined to move at such pace over the last 6 months.
Yvette Cooper, thank you so much for speaking to us today.
Forensic!
Well, her opposite number, Chris Philp, who until July was a minister in the Home Office. Now you're the Shadow Home Office minister.
He's fucking Vigo the Carpathian, but younger. He's yassified Vigo. Is what it is.
It's true. That brow line.
Yeah, he's been put through that fucking filter, and it's popped out this fucking creature. Jesus Christ. His brow line is so heavy. It makes him look like a Jim Henson puppet. Does a bit, yeah. It looks like he's tilting his head forward when he isn't.
Yeah.
Who are with us today. The Home Secretary told us there've been more returns of migrants in a 6-month period than in 5 years. There've been more raids on illegal workplaces. There've been more arrests. You must be pleased to hear that.
Well, they've been continuing the work of the previous government. Those trends of more removals have continued. But there are, of course, a couple of points worth highlighting. One of those is that the vast majority of those returns are to European and North American countries, firstly. And secondly, in Labour's first 3 months in office, they returned small boat arrivals in relatively small numbers. Their small boat returns actually went down compared to the 3 months before the election. And
oh my God, if you smack your fucking mouth again, I'm going to knock you out, mate. I'm going to fucking flip. Drink some water. You have a dry mouth. Oh, sorry. It's already annoying me. He's barely started.
Under 5% of small boat arrivals. So when you look at those figures, not quite so impressive.
But you spectacularly broke your promise to stop the boats, which was slapped over every government lectern going. It was on every poster, every backdrop to every Conservative Party event. Isn't Yvette Cooper absolutely right to say now she's in charge of the Home Office now that progress is really being made?
Well, first of all, the small boat crossings last year, 2023, went down by a third compared to the previous year. So the plan was
a record high, and it's developed as a phenomenon.
So we started getting the numbers down. Now, by contrast, since the election in the last 5 months, the number of boat crossings are up by 18% compared to the same period last year. So under Labour, boat crossings are going up. Now, I think they made a huge mistake by cancelling the Rwanda deterrent before it even started. The first flight
it's not even a Rwanda scheme anymore. It's now just Rwanda deterrent.
We're going to deter Rwanda, are we?
Well, clearly.
It's due to go off on the 24th of July. Now, we know deterrents are important because the National Crime Agency have told us that law enforcement alone isn't enough. You need a deterrent, and we've seen other countries successfully use deterrents.
But I'd also remind you and our viewers that there were challenges waiting in the courts for the Rwanda scheme, and there might have been a plane booked, but you can't be certain that Rwanda would ever have got off the ground in a meaningful way, just as Labour can't be sure that it would never have worked. That is
Jesus Christ, forensic with their both siding nonsense. Brilliant. Absolute fucking bullshit.
Award-winning journalism right there.
Fact.
Knowable situation.
Well, we'd passed a law, the Safety of Rwanda Act, to make sure those flights could take off. We legislated to deal with the...
No, you legislated what you thought you wanted reality to be. And the courts went, that's not how it works. You can't just pretend Rwanda's safe.
Exactly.
We wrote on a bit of paper that Rwanda was safe, and therefore it was safe.
Exactly. The fact that it's even called the Safety of Rwanda Bill is so dumb, right?
Yeah. Mad.
It's like, we're also going to pass the Reality of Flat Earth Bill.
Yes.
Legal issues. The first plane...
there were cases in the
courts. Hang on. The first plane was due to take off on the 24th of July, and we know from Australia that these deterrents do work. Now, about 10 years ago, Australia had a very similar problem to us, with boats going from Indonesia to Australia in similarly high numbers. And they established a deterrent. They used Nauru, which is an island in the Pacific, rather than Rwanda. But when the Australians started doing that, very rapidly, the boat crossings completely stopped. So we can see a deterrent works, yet Labour cancelled it before it started. And we had migrants.
Also, hang on a minute. It's worth pointing out, first of all, the country's Nauru, not Nauru. I know this man doesn't understand the difference between the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Rwanda, so I'm asking a lot for him to know the name of
Are those different countries?
Yeah, they are indeed different countries. Amazing. Yeah, you go. So I'm not probably asking a lot of him to know the name of an obscure micronation in the South Pacific, right? Probably difficult for him to understand that. But even so, second of all, like the Rwanda plan was an internationally illegal and didn't resettle asylum seekers in the UK if they had their asylum claim accepted. They stayed in Rwanda. The whole point of the detention centres on Nauru and on
Papua New Guinea.
Papua New Guinea, that's another one, and there was another one. There's another island in that area as well, where they kept asylum seekers. Is that they were being processed there, and if they had their asylum claims accepted, they were moved on to Australia. Now, there's been a lot of time in detention hell whilst their claims were getting heard, and this was deliberately so to treat them with such inhumane conditions that people sewed their mouths shut as they're part of a protest against their treatment. But in accordance with international law, if they had their asylum claim accepted, they were moved on to mainland Australia.
Yeah, indeed. But we should definitely set up the concentration camps that have internationally ruined Australia's reputation for human rights.
True.
Definitely.
We had migrants in Calais saying they were delighted when Keir Starmer was elected Prime Minister, which tells you a lot.
But our viewers are very well aware that it's unknowable whether Rwanda would have made a difference, and also the 20-mile channel crossing is very, very different to the seas around Australia when people are coming from far, far bigger distances. However, as I say, it's an unknowable.
And also he says, oh, well, people in Calais were very happy to know that Labour were going to be in government. Yeah, because they might have legitimate asylum claims, and they think that whilst the Labour Party are definitely having a very reform-esque policy on this, at the very least, you know, they're slightly better than the Conservative Party, who wanted to get rid of all ability for these people to seek asylum, which is their international right under the Refugee Convention.
Yeah. Also, there are a lot of people in Britain happy to see you fuck off as well, lad. Just saying, you know. Yeah, also the other island was Manaus.
Manus Island, that's the one, yeah.
Well, hang
the
on.
question in terms of what you want to do now,
wait a minute. What is knowable is with Albanians who are coming across the channel. We did a returns agreement with Albania a couple of years ago, and we started returning them, and that led to a 93% reduction in Albanians crossing. So that shows you, in the context of the channel, that removing people quickly when they arrive does deter them, and it's common sense. If you're a migrant in Calais,
returns, then you don't need something like
but sorry, no. The reason why you got 93% returns to Albania is because Albania is a country in Europe that is broadly safer.
Yeah.
The vast majority of migrants coming over in small boats across the channel are from Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Sudan, and Syria, which are not safe countries.
Notice, Mr. Philp, you didn't have to pass a piece of legislation called Albania is totally safe, yo. Like
true,
exactly. You already basically was. It's not, you know, brilliant necessarily, but it's safe enough to return people to. And considering the Tories tried the absurd notion of having slave market Libya as one of its safe returns destinations at one point, like, you don't give a fuck about any of this.
Yeah.
Well, we were able to.
No,
not at all. We were able to return people specifically to Albania, but some of the other nationalities, Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, they are much harder to return to, and that is why you need a safe third country like Rwanda. Exactly.
There's a reason why these countries aren't safe to return to, is because they're not safe, and people's asylum claims when they arrive from Afghanistan and Syria are perfectly legitimate because they are fleeing the Taliban and, up until last week, Bashar al-Assad. That's the reason why you got loads of asylum claims here, or we can't really return them. Yeah, exactly. That means their asylum claims are far more likely to be reasonable.
Is there a reason why Afghanistan used to be safe and is no longer safe? And did we have anything to do with that, maybe?
Did the Conservative Party have anything to do with this at all, I wonder?
Curious. And maybe we could learn something about that in the way in which we deal with foreign countries going forward. Perhaps.
Maybe, just maybe, giving loads of weapons, money, and military training to Islamic extremists. Bad idea.
Well, hot take.
Exactly as Australia did. It worked in Australia and it would have worked here, but they cancelled it. And that's why numbers are up 18% since the election.
But it's interesting, you still are very, very fixed on the possibilities and the opportunities of a plan like Rwanda. But if you were to return to government, would you resurrect that plan? Is that still Conservative Party policy?
Yes, we would aim to resurrect a deterrent-style scheme. Now, whether the Rwanda scheme is still available in 5 years' time, we'll have to see. But certainly a deterrent scheme like that, where if somebody crosses the channel, dangerously, illegally and unnecessarily...
I think Rwanda would be happy for you to build them some more houses, yeah. I think they'd be fine with that. Because you're still not going to be able to send anyone under international law, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly. You know, what we've managed to build loads of houses in Rwanda. Can't build any cows' houses in the UK, though, can we?
No, that is true. Well, that's because they don't have any protected bats in Kigali. That's the only difference.
Necessarily because France is safe, they will rapidly be removed somewhere else. And if you do that, it's common sense that the people who are thinking of crossing simply won't do so. It's also very telling that when Keir Starmer stood up last week and announced his milestones, or whatever he calls them now, stopping illegal immigration was not even one of Keir Starmer's priorities.
What you say now
is that you would put in a hard, low cap on legal migration. Now, what is a hard, low cap?
The thing they did before that they fucking failed at. But you can totally believe them. Like, mate, if you do the same trick over and over, look, you're literally just the boy who cried immigration cap. We already don't believe you. We're not going to vote for you. Shut up.
And it's also just a really stupid policy.
It is also very stupid, yeah.
Like we've got a legally mandated cap, and we've hit that now. So this sector of the economy with a giant labour gap is just going to have a massive cost spiral that's going to impede the entire economy. You know, what about seasonal workers? Or we've had enough, legal migrants from January to June. So now all the people who are going to come here to pick cockles for 3 months, they can't turn up. Okay, brilliant. I guess that industry's dead.
Well, yeah, basically. And you just end up in the situation where everyone's waiting until January the 1st, and then like when a load of tickets go on sale for a tour, they'll just get bought up, and then on January the 2nd, the same problem will exist for the rest of the year. Which is exactly the problem they had last time, which is exactly why they never hit their targets, because it's unworkable.
We know it was record nearly 1 million last year. What does hard and low mean?
Yep, so hard means legally binding. We would simply stop issuing visas when the cap was reached, so there's no way that can be circumvented, and we would set that out in law. In terms of numbers, we haven't set a number yet, but we're working on that at the moment. But it will be broadly speaking, it'll be far, far lower than the figures that were published a couple of weeks ago, and it'll also be far, far lower than the OB.
Interesting way of framing that. The figures that were published a few weeks ago. You mean the fuck up you made of the immigration system that led to record numbers? Brilliant. Well, that's a very interesting way of spinning that. But thankfully we have award-winning forensic journalist Laura Koonsberg, who I'm sure won't let him get away with that little sleight of hand.
Exactly.
Our forecast accompanying the budget that was 350,000 per year. Interestingly, Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper have refused to set out a cap at all. So there's a big difference there between the parties. And one other point, Laura, the measures that we took in government towards the end of our period in office have begun.
Yeah, there's a big difference in the parties. Whilst the Labour Party are awful for many different reasons, they're not, however, morons in like the broadest sense of the word.
No.
Because again, you've literally just said, well, we'll just ban ourselves. We will make it legally binding that we can't issue visas. And we'll just let entire industries, which is like, oh, well, all the visas are up. I guess our industry's dead. Like, okay, like how many jobs, how much of the economy are you willing to sacrifice to keep the Browns out? Like,
yeah.
How far are you willing to go on this?
Also, the amazing situation of, I mean, just imagine this for a second, right? What this says about the Tory party. They are so scummy, so lacking in any kind of ability or willingness to hit their own targets, that they have to pass a law to force themselves to have to do the thing they said they were going to do. Like, you don't even believe that you yourself will hit this target. You don't believe that. So you would have to pass a law to make yourself do it. To remove the sovereignty of the country. To remove the power of the fucking Home Secretary to do anything. Because if they did, they wouldn't do the thing they were voted in to do. Like, is there any wonder no one trusts you, mate, when you don't trust yourself?
True.
Thank you, Fago, who says, Shamima Begum is coming home, inshallah. Is that true? I'd not heard that. Is that breaking news, or is that like wish being father of the thought?
I mean, inshallah means God willing, right? So I'm assuming they mean the.
Does it?
They hope. Yeah. So, like, it's because mashallah means blessed by God, right? And inshallah means God willing. So you say mashallah if something good has happened, and you say inshallah if you want something to happen. If I'm reading that correctly.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough.
See, I can't. Although the problem is, I can't hear the phrase mashallah in anything other than the voice of like the white guy from Four Lions.
Yeah,
saying
exactly,
mashallah, brother.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that my brain processes. Terrible. It's terrible, but that's how I process that phrase.
Mashallah. Yeah.
Mashallah, brother.
Rubberdingy Rapids.
Rubberdingy Rapids, bro.
What is he, a martyr or a fucking jalfrezi? Honestly, that film's got the best lines in it. Fuck me.
It really does. It really does.
Jewish spark plugs.
Jews invented spark plugs to control global traffic. And that is a quote from a movie, by the way, for people who don't know. I'm not saying that in earnest, obviously. Just want to make sure everyone knows, and everyone might have watched the same films that we have. But that is a quote from a film, a parody, satire, comedy film, and not my genuine opinion.
You tomato the special needs donkey.
To reduce those legal numbers. Legal migration was down 20%, but the issue of visas, which are a leading indicator, so you get the visa sort of typically 3 or 6 months before travelling, those are down even more. So social care visas, which had been a huge route, those are down by 84%, student dependents down 84%, student visas down 19%, work visas down 28%. So those measures we took, perhaps too late, but those measures we took are already having an effect at forcing down legal migration.
Those measures, as you've just said, came too late for many people.
They should have been done earlier.
And right now, some Conservatives believe that actually you're not saying enough yet on what your next plans would be. Ben Houchen, who's the mayor of Teesside, was with us last week, a Conservative, and he said there's a risk you're leaving a vacuum for Nigel Farage's Reform Party because you're not yet saying enough about what you would do, particularly on the issue of immigration. What do you say to that?
Well, Kemi and I gave a speech on this a couple of weeks ago in which we acknowledged the migration numbers have been far too high and that successive governments over the years have made mistakes.
But you can totally trust us now, bro. Honest. I know we've literally been like Lucy with the football and Charlie Brown, but honestly, we won't take the football away this time. You will definitely be able to kick it, honest.
And the thing as well is that it's entirely because they couldn't be truthful. They're entirely in this mess because they couldn't be truthful. They knew full well there would be labour gaps and labour shortages and economic downturn and loads of negative externalities if we just shut off immigration, especially after the pandemic, after a lot of gaps opened up in the labour market due to the pandemic and due to the fiscal expansionary policy. Like they knew 100% that universities would go under. They knew the economic growth would slow and the debt burden would be higher. They knew all of these things would happen if they reduced immigration sharply. But they lied to the public and said, it's fine, we'll get the number down and there'll be no problems at all. And instead what they did was just not do that, do the thing that they believe to be best for the economy. And then they're going to get bitten in the arse with it because they tried to convince the entire public that we could have our cake and eat it too. And we just couldn't. It just wasn't true. And now it's ruined them politically.
Yep.
How the measures we took in government are getting these numbers down already. We've talked about restoring a Rwanda-style deterrent. We've talked about a legally binding hard cap. And there'll be more. Kemi's also talked about limiting welfare entitlements even further for people who come here, because if they come here to work, they should, of course, do so rather than claiming benefits or social housing. So you'll hear a lot more about this in the coming months. But as I say, Kemi and I started that process with our speeches a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, and briefly, if I can, extraordinary revelations about Chinese spying involving prime ministers being targeted as well as Prince Andrew. Your colleague Tom Tugendhat in the party says there should be an investigation. Do you agree?
I think this needs looking at very carefully. But look, this question of Chinese influence...
So that's no, then. So presumably this man definitely produced some sort of national secrets to a Chinese spy? Is what I'm going to... That's the headcanon, I think.
Or the headcanon for me is he already is a Chinese spy himself.
That would not surprise me. No.
Is not a new one. It's been around for years or even decades. They've been systematically trying to infiltrate universities to steal intellectual property, businesses for the same reason, and also influencing government institutions. We remember, of course, that Chinese agent who paid a lot of money to a Labour Party member of Parliament. So we need to be super vigilant, publicly expose Chinese infiltration where it happens, and everybody in academia, in business, in government needs to be alert. And if anyone has the...
You want to mention your two previous prime ministers who met with this Chinese spy? And maybe what was discussed during that? Because that would be, I think, of public interest. Yeah.
You think so?
Lightest concern, they should contact the security services immediately.
Okay, well, Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Always good to have you with us in the studio. And as ever, you've been busy throughout 2024 telling us what you think about what we discuss in the studio. Keep doing it, please. You can email us, koonsberger@bbc.co.uk, or if you're social media minded, you can use the hashtag BBC Laura Kay, and the WhatsApp number is there, and I promise I'll learn it for 2025. Let's then go to our panel. Susanna, it's obvious Yvette Cooper doesn't want to
repeat what she sees as the political mistakes of previous governments by making a promise and then spectacularly failing to keep it. But do you think that matters to public confidence when she sort of says, oh, I just can't tell you?
Yes, I do. I think that successive governments have failed to tell a positive story on immigration. We rely on immigration to run our public services, to grow our economy. But there is huge concern about how we support the immigrants.
Catherine, I'm not sure that we can necessarily say that Priti Patel gave Israel state secrets. Although, let's be honest, she blatantly fucking did. But we don't actually know that. What we do know is that she was fired from the government for illegally doing what, I mean, technically counts as espionage as a government minister, albeit at the time a relatively minor minister. She attended meetings with known Israeli state actors without telling the government that was going to happen. Which is, you know, espionage. She later went on to become Home Secretary. So that's, you know, very normal. Very normal.
That's just the level of competency that you get from a Conservative government.
The best quality candidate for the job, clearly.
Immigrants who come. And, you know, with all due respect to Chris Philp, how he can lecture the current government on immigration when it was under the previous government, that it went up, legal net migration went up to almost 1 million in the year to June 2023 is kind of remarkable, because anybody is going to be worried that if you have that scale of legal migrants coming in, how are you going to support them in the NHS? How are you going to support them with housing? And I think what governments need to do is say, we need migrants. They are positive and valuable contributors to our society. But this is the number roughly we need. Because otherwise you get into this kind of binary position where you have the government saying, well, you know, I know it wasn't one of the milestones, but it's on page 18 of the plan for change, and we're going to lower immigration. That sounds like immigration is a bad thing. We're going to lower it because immigrants are bad, but they're not bad. And then you hand over the political argument to reform and a sort of Farage's proposal of one in, one out.
Well, it's interesting because for a Labour anti-ban, there is a risk to them from reform at the moment.
Has she not been? Has she been watching my stream?
A little bit.
No, she's exactly what I was saying, where you just go, here's the big number bad, big number come down, rather than talking holistically about the trade-offs and the needs of the country. Yeah, exactly what I've been saying.
So you're a Lib as well, then?
Really?
Yeah.
Moment, particularly on illegal immigration and the small boats, and also the public unhappiness at sometimes asylum seekers arriving to live in their communities where there isn't the right infrastructure and there isn't right support. In your patch in Altrincham in Cheshire, there's suddenly a new asylum hotel with 300 people arriving. Do you think there's a political risk for your party on this issue?
Well, always, but I have great confidence in Yvette Cooper. She is one of the most...
See, he does some cool stuff, but then occasionally he reminds you, no, he's a Labour cunt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Experienced and knowledgeable ministers that there is. You know, she's one of the best politicians of our era, and what she laid out in the intro is exactly what she would be doing.
I mean, to be fair, he's not wrong in the sense of her sticking power. Like, she's held high office in governments like 20 years apart. That's pretty impressive, I guess. But it's also damning the current political establishment with the faintest of praise.
And like in general, you know, if you can't find somebody better than Yvette Cooper, so much so that she can just wander back in after over a decade, then, you know, clearly the new blood isn't particularly talented.
No, highest quality candidates we're on about. Jazz
100%.
Athwell's going to be the new housing minister, I'm sure. Yeah, why not?
You talked about the agreements that have to be put in place with other countries. That's the hard work. I did it in the Blair government.
By the way,
on the phone to minister.
I just want to make everyone aware that, by the way, we've been going for almost 2 hours, right? We put our we do the hard work so that you don't have to, of breaking down politics. And if you want to continue ensuring that we can entertain you of an evening, you can subscribe on Twitch for $4.99 or for free with Twitch Prime by linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. You're a free sub every single month, courtesy of Jeff Bezos, costs you nothing, and you can give it to one of us, either myself or Kevin, to help keep us employed here on twitch.tv. Subscriptions get you ad-free viewing, as well as access to animations and static emotes in the Twitch chat. You can also drop bits. 100 bits gets you text-to-speech from me, 200 for Kevin as well. You can also If you want a message read out on YouTube, you can have it read out by super chatting. I've read out all super chats regardless of value. I will read them out on both streams. You can also become a member on YouTube, which is 99p, which is cheaper than a can of Red Stripe for the access to YouTube emotes and chat and comments. But of course, the best way to support the stream is to gift memberships to your fellow YouTube viewers to help spread the love around. It helps boost the stream in the algorithm. And so if you don't have a message to read out, which would require a super chat, instead you should take the amount and donate it as gifted subs, as it's better for the algorithmic boost. And we have Patreon as well, and Ted has PayPal.
True, very much so. And thank you to Fulmar Music for gifting 5 memberships on the YouTube. Much love. Love it.
Good to see it.
Ministers in other governments
so you were actually immigration minister at that point, weren't you?
I was, and this is the thing, and this, let me get to reform, because Susanna rightly raised it. Going forward from here in 2025, they need to be held to account for the consequences of their own policies.
Reform should.
The big lie of Brexit, in my view, needs to be exposed, because they promised us that it would control immigration. It's done the opposite. It's weakened control of immigration.
But then Farage just gets to play his shell game of, well, they didn't do it the way we would have done it. We'd have done X, Y, and Z. And he wins both ways. It's so annoying the way it worked, because the media are fucking shit, that he was never held to account during the Brexit referendum for, you can't implement these policies. You aren't the government. The people that were at the head of that organisation, or the head of the Leave campaign, were Farage, not in the government, Johnson, at the time not in the government, and the Scottish woman whose name I always fucking forget. Anyway, who's not in was never in the British government. So like
Ruth Davidson.
Ruth Davidson, yeah, those were like the 3 kind of headline people. I suppose Gove to a degree as well, but whatever. They weren't going to be able to implement these policies. So it was always fucking nonsense. You can write what you like on the side of a bus if you don't ever have to actually implement it. Free chocolate for the unemployed. Look, it doesn't matter. You can just say anything. And now that the consequences have come to pass, he can just say, well, they didn't do exactly what we wanted them to do.
Didn't do it my way. Didn't have my Brexit.
Yeah, exactly. This is not the Brexit we voted for. What did you vote for exactly?
You put fucking cross in a box. What you did? Yes, no. That's what you did. Also, thank you, Korea Van Broek for the 10 gifted and Bree for the 5 gifted.
Because it's weakened those relationships with our neighbours that are absolutely critical to having an orderly system. But at the same time, it's changed the nature of migration. So they've been issuing more and more visas for people coming from further afield, staying permanently, whereas with free movement, it would have been somebody would come for a few years and then go back. So absolutely, I have confidence in what Yvette is doing. It's going to be hard. It was just interesting, if I could just say, listening to the Shadow Home Secretary about the Rwanda scheme. If they were so confident in it, I think they would have delayed the general election, wouldn't they, to when the first planes took off. But it's noticeable that they didn't do that, because they know it was a colossal failure and waste of money. And they, like with everything else, they weren't prepared to kind of own any of their issues. They cut and run, and just to hear all of that just now was just
really wound you up, hasn't it?
It has, because
to be fair,
there's no humility there in saying yes.
Well, speaking of cutting and running, well, they were forced to call the general election whether or not they thought the Rwanda plan would work or not, because otherwise they would have to deal with a prison crisis they would be taken to court over. Yeah,
exactly, yeah. And also, I think he had the added benefit of them now claiming that they'd have been able to do something, when actually the courts were going to slap them down again, because, again, you can't just write on a bit of paper, it's totally safe, bro, believe me. The courts need actual evidence of things. Like, when a government governs on the basis of the kind of beliefs that idiots who watch GB News have, that's going to really come into conflict when they then have to take that exact same fucking logic to a courtroom.
Yeah, full of people dealing in reality.
Yeah. Because to use an overly used phrase on tonight's show, they're a bit more forensic with their, analysis of bullshit.
True.
Yes, we failed. We need to learn the lessons. I didn't hear that from the Shadow Home Secretary.
Let's then talk, though, about the economy, because, James, your company is massive. You spend your life studying the jobs market. How dependent at the moment are we on legal migration?
Well, legal migration is very important for filling all sorts of jobs in the economy, particularly in health and social care, and we're dependent on it importantly. But I think the numbers have surprised people. So over the last 2 years, 1.6 million net immigration. It was much higher than most people were expecting.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy numbers. That realistically can't be sustained. Like, there is so much you can do in terms of absorbing people, but especially if you're not creating any extra infrastructure, that's a huge number of people.
It's 2 cities of Liverpool. So that's a lot of people. Where are they going? How are we looking after them?
Well, the thing
Where are
as
they
well,
being
though,
housed? So how do we make that work?
is that there were like a couple of years where we had basically nothing as well.
Yeah.
So it was politically damaging for them for it to all happen at once, because the opposition could just go, look, big number, big number, big number, big number, big number, big number, big, and then suddenly you're forced to defend the big number, right?
Yeah.
Work, I think, is a live issue.
And in terms of the temperature of the economy at the moment, you know, you're in contact with exactly what's going on all around the country. What signs are you seeing? Because alongside immigration, the massive challenge for this government is to get the economy growing. They say it's number 1 on their list, but what are the clues that you see?
Well, we see, we're like the crow's nest on a ship, because we get the vacancies coming into our website early, so we see what's happening in the labour market, which is a leading indicator. And the economy's cooling, and we can see that very clearly. And it's been cooling for several months, since the summer. And most recently, our data for November showed job numbers, vacancies falling 13% month on month. 13%, and that's 26% down year on year. So that's a very significant decline. That worries me, because when I've seen that in the past, it's been an indication that recession is around the corner.
But that's...
And we might see a dip, and unemployment will
Well,
rise.
And do you think that's...
I think that's just the economy normalizing. We had, again, record low unemployment in the end of 2023, early 2024, about 3.6%, which was not been as low as that since the 1970s. It's still 4%, which is still very, very low. And 4% unemployment is a very low number. So to see the economy cooling when it was very, very hot, when wages were rising very, very quickly, I think that's just a normalization back down to where we expect it to be now that inflation has cooled too. Yeah. So I don't expect this is going to mean that we go into recession.
I don't think so, but I mean, the kind of cutting that the government are planning to do doesn't help that situation.
No, like if they really want to stop this from happening and to stop the labour market from cooling, they should be doing more expansionary policy, right?
Yep.
They should be looking at big government investment schemes, even further than they are now. But
that would be change, and no one voted for change.
True.
They voted for absolute continuity, clearly.
100%, and they get hammered in the press for being reckless. Labour spending money they don't have, blah blah blah.
Yeah, mad shit.
Possible then, that's what we're heading towards.
Yeah, I mean, I should call it out. I mean, the budget has spooked business, and we've seen that. And this big black hole of 22 billion we've heard so much about has become 1 million black holes in company balance sheets up and down the country. And all these businesses are looking at, what are we going to do about this? And the answers to that question are not good. We're going to cut hiring, we're going to make people redundant, we're not going to invest, we're going to offshore jobs. So that is a big issue, and I would urge a rethink on this, because I think...
Okay, but have you considered trebuchet? Because I have, and I am right now, my friend.
It's just like, our costs in national insurance employer contributions have gone up by 1.2%, 1.2 percentage points. I'm just like, fucking deal with it, mate. Yeah. Like, I'm sorry, this is not a gigantic hole in your balance sheet.
Taxing jobs right now is not a good idea, and there are better things to tax. You could tax fuel, you could tax gambling, you could tax high value property, you could
tax billionaires,
tax wealth, capital gains,
tax you.
Tax imports, maybe him, but not jobs, please.
Very interesting to see how that will unfold in the next couple of months. Andy, there's another big thing the government's doing this week, sneaking in just before Christmas, the Devolution white paper. Yes. In other words, their plan of how to give, I suppose, people like you even more power. Are you happy with what you think you're going to get?
It's certainly a proud moment for Greater Manchester, because people before me, Sir Howard Bernstein, Sir Richard Lees, pioneered a new model of running things. And the devolution that we have had over the last 10 or so years has brought a higher level of growth in our city region than the UK growth rate, which, if you go back in the north, that wasn't the case in my youth, but it is today, and the skyline of Manchester tells that story, and it's good now that that will be extended to all parts of England. I think this is a real shift in the way the country is run. The British state is tilting away from Whitehall and Westminster for the first time properly, and, you know, towards...
I mean, not for the first time, but like, you were literally a member of the Blair government when they introduced proper actual devolution, you prick. Like, for all of the faults of the Blair government, and they were replete, they did definitely tilt away from Westminster. Literally, the Scottish government exists because of that. The Welsh Assembly exists because of that. The Northern Ireland Assembly exists because of that. So it's not the first time. What the fuck are you talking about? This is relatively minor by comparison.
Yeah, quite.
Towards the regions. For us, it's going to mean more control over rail. So we're bringing in the B network, an integrated public transport system like...
Oh, he's just going to release bees into the streets of Manchester to sting people. Socialism gone mad.
Finish the re-regulation of buses in January. We'll have a London payment system in March. And then we want to bring rail into the B network. And the white paper, I understand, is going to promise that. But there is a big area where, in my view, it's not going far enough. And that is on post-16 education. And I think all the mayors feel the same about this. The Department for Education takes a very centralising view of these things. But in my view, they're risking putting a brake on growth. As James is saying, this could be another problem, because post-16 technical education is a local thing. You've got to work with a local labour market, local employers. The vacancies are a risk. We had the Home Builders Federation saying yesterday that they were worried there weren't enough skilled people out there to meet the 1.5 million homes commitment.
You've been on the blower to Bridget Phillipson and Keir Starmer saying, give me control of that too.
I have, and I'm pleased I've got enough support to bring in the Greater Manchester Baccalaureate, because we have some devolved power here. That's what I call an equal alternative to the university route. I think we badly need that. The Department for Education is often obsessed on the university route. I'm saying, no, we are going to bring in an equal alternative to university, and I've got enough power to bring that forward. But I would say to them, this is an area to go further, because growth depends on filling those vacancies, bringing through young people with the qualifications that we need. And as a country, we've never done this well. There's always been a snobbery about technical education.
All right, well, you've made
the devolved
your pitch.
areas are ready to fix it.
You've made your pitch. Susanna, just briefly to you, we're about to have a conversation with two American tech entrepreneurs about artificial intelligence. And I just wonder, whenever we raise this subject, there's often a lot of fear
Also,
about
pause one
what it will
sec,
mean
yeah.
for jobs here.
Hang on,
What do you think? You
That's a really good point from the other Kevin in my chat, shouting out Jack Mellor for being handsome and recruiting new Greens in the pub by accident, which is a true story.
Really? Oh, nice.
Yeah, they met up and did some Green
Is
stuff
that the
together.
Jack Mellor?
The Jack Mellor? Yeah.
Good God. I didn't know we had celebrities in tonight. Amazing.
We do have celebrities in tonight.
Good.
you worry about it?
I'm excited about it. I think there's lots of opportunities in AI. What I wonder is, with the development of people using likenesses, at what point will we be able to say, I'd like a Sunday morning programme, but not Sunday morning, but I want Laura Kunsberg to be presenting it, but I, want her in my favourite football shirt, and I only want news about, for instance, the cost of living and my favourite football.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be the football shirt thing and not fucking porn. Obviously.
I mean, basically, yeah, that's all it's been used for at the moment.
Yeah, like, no, if it was just football shirts, that's fine. I wouldn't give a fuck. It's like the revenge porn and, like, fake suicide videos and stuff.
Yeah. Or, politically damaging fake material.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Keir Starmer, definitely not saying Jimmy Savile was awesome, and I'm glad I got him off those charges. Which the Tory party are definitely going to publish before the next election, because it's, they can fake it. And they're going to have a squillion pounds of fucking Elon Musk's money. That's reform, isn't it? You get the idea. Yeah.
Basically the same thing now.
And I want it right now. And AI will be able to generate that. And you won't have any control about the news that you are then presenting.
Oh,
and I think,
blimey. Or indeed have a job. But we all have jobs at the moment, so let's be grateful.
To be fair, if anything good comes of AI, hopefully it does put you out of a job, Laura.
I mean,
Award-winning
basically,
journalist Laura Koonsberg, yeah.
I mean, you could basically already replace her with AI at this point. It's so formulaic.
Yeah. No, they
Sorry,
absolutely
forensic.
Forensic.
To that. So let's get our head around this. Computers are getting so clever. They are more and more able to make decisions and do things without our instruction.
Okay, do we give a fuck about this?
No.
Fair enough. Let's skip past these murderers then. Sorry, alleged murderers.
Well, the CEOs of a company where one of the whistleblowers who just happened to turn up dead. That's what we're going to say. We don't know who killed this person. Could have been anybody. Could have been Luigi Mangione.
It was clearly suicide.
Yeah.
So in many respects, my condolences to these AI bosses on losing one of their valued employees.
Followed by the last 12 months, 2024. Let's have you.
On the 5th of July, either Keir Starmer or I...
It's still funny. It's still very funny. This sad little drowned rat man.
And what's funny is it wasn't even the most embarrassing point of the campaign for him.
No,
you know?
that would either have to be him going to the Titanic and being asked whether he was steering a sinking ship. Very funny. Or him, purposely wiping his arse on the graves of the Normandy dead. One of those two things.
To go into an interview with Paul Brandt on ITV.
Yeah. And then leaving fucking Lord Pigfucker to stand there next to a bemused set of elected leaders.
Joe Biden and Emmanuel Macron.
Yeah. And Joe Biden going, I'm sure you were Prime Minister when Barack was in. What I recognise you from somewhere. Who are you? You're not Rashid.
Or then also the moment where he started... Again, it wasn't even his fault because he was asked to do it. But there's a funny moment where he's using the side of a hammer. Super viral. At least he was asked to use the side of the hammer by the person doing the operations, but it was just the idea.
It is very funny.
It's just the idea that the idea that he was too posh to know how to use a hammer properly.
Well, exactly. It says something about his general sort of standing in the country. That was a totally believable thing. That he wouldn't know how to use a hammer, because you could absolutely believe he never had used a hammer.
Exactly. He got one of the butlers to do it. One of his servants to do it.
Exactly. He had one of his actually, I can't use the phrase they use at public school. It rhymes with rag and is a synonym sometimes for cigarette. Anyway, they get one of their underlings at private school to do their home ec projects for them. Anyway.
Exactly. Well, to be fair, this is the same guy who didn't know how to use contactless.
Yeah.
When paying at a pub petrol station.
That is also true.
But paying for the petrol for his Kia Rio that he definitely drives.
Yeah. The tax thing, his obsession with the tax thing was silly. Yeah. Thank you for the bits, Kieran. Unbelievable stuff. But this was a genuine high point of the year as well. Him standing in the rain as Steve, was blasting things can only get better. So you couldn't really understand the Prime Minister saying we're going to go to a general election, because all I could hear was fucking D-Ream.
Honestly. It really... I would feel sorry for Sunak if he wasn't such a fucking subhuman monster.
Yeah, no, if he wasn't filth, yeah, that would be fine.
Because he genuinely had, the short end of the stick. Every single time he seems to be incredibly unlucky Prime Minister, but I don't care because he's a disgusting cunt.
He is, and also he took over at the again, not to use that phrase again, the butt end of the of a government that was on its way out. So, what did you expect? It wasn't going to go well. The person you lost to in the previous leadership election lost to a fucking lettuce. It was never going to go well for you, was it, Rishi? When you can just about squeeze onto the podium next to a lettuce. I don't know. The vibes are not great.
Be Prime Minister.
1 card, 6 steps in your hand.
6 steps and missions and milestones.
I've done them out of order.
To stopping the boat.
Forget all you're looking in your plate.
Oh, for God's sake.
Higher taxes.
You backed Liz Truss and crashed our economy.
I've changed my mind.
you will be compelled to take part in the national service.
It's allowed you now.
Having
Oh, I
participated
forgot the
in...
national service pledge, yeah.
Oh my god, it was even dumber than that, wasn't it? So many dumb things happened in that election campaign.
Yeah. But it might not be in, it might not be in the army. We might just get you to I don't know. What were some of the options they had? I can't even remember.
Official hair fluffer for Penny Mordaunt for the election debate.
Yeah, true. She did have a mane. Honestly.
It was wild, wasn't it? Actually, I liked again. We all forgot fucking. Was it early? Was it conference early? Was it last year or this year where she started saying it's just the fucking stand up and fight thing?
Yeah. Oh god, she was weird.
I thought she was going to be like a stalwart of conservative politics for the years to come, and in the last year and a half, I swear she fucking lost her mind. Like when she was honestly, higher taxes.
I think her sword mommy moment went to her head. She genuinely started to think of herself as Britannia or some shit. I don't know.
all the British events with British veterans. I returned home before the international leaders event later in the day.
Like, what did you think was? It's so bad. It's so bad. You fucking twat. Get in the rubbish bag. Get in the black bag now, okay? You deserve it.
On reflection, that was a mistake.
The exit poll is predicting
Hang on a minute.
Labour landslide.
We're gonna get multiple bits of Nigel Farage talking. Who got 5 seats. Yet we're not going to get anything from the SNP or the Green Party.
No. They lost 241 seats. Or is that that's the exit poll? I think they did slightly better, didn't they? They lost about 230.
They did worse.
Oh, did they? I can't even remember.
It was 125, I think it was. 120 something.
And look at that, Reform didn't do as well as they were hoping. And the Lib Dems did better. Amazing shit.
No, they're not 72. That's what cost the Conservatives down from the projections, and Liz Dems did better than we expected.
Blimey. Labour has won an absolutely whopping victory in the general election.
We certainly won't be increasing income tax or national insurance. I am announcing an increase in employers' national insurance contributions. I don't think I'm rude.
Gotta love the fucking trolliness of that. That's beautiful.
Also, I don't think I'm being rude. I'm like, well, you literally all you do is be rude. That's all you do.
Yeah.
Politics can be a brutal business.
It certainly has been a brutal business, but brutal and also very positive for some. James, when you think of everything that's happened this year, what stands out?
Well, just looking at that, Laura, I think Ed Davey deserves a round of applause. I mean, I remember watching during the election thinking, who is this guy falling off this paddleboard? Why is he doing that? And by the end of the campaign...
He was a former government minister. He wasn't a nobody, mate. He killed so many post office workers with his bare hands. Did you see Ian Hislop rinsing him about that on Have I Got News For You?
No.
Yeah, he was on, I think it was this Friday, wasn't it? I think I've got it bookmarked. Yeah, they were on there together. And Ian Hislop, in his actually forensic journalistic way, took him to task for the brutal slayings, so to speak. Do I have it? Hang on a minute, it's got to be somewhere. Here we go. Right, so tears into Ed Davey.
I'm always very careful about talking about civil service because half of them are Liberal Democrat Party members.
Oh, right. So you did blame your civil servants?
No,
didn't
no.
you?
You see,
over the post office, I think you did.
Well,
I mean, I hate to bring it up this early, but
Well, we didn't last long, did we? You worked out they were lying to everybody earlier than most.
But you didn't.
No, I didn't. No, I'm really sorry I didn't, and that's why the inquiry is so important.
Yeah, no, I did ask Alan whether I should give you a hard time. Guess what he said? No, he didn't, because he's quite nice. But I asked Lee Castleton, and he said, yeah. It wasn't your finest hour, was it?
Well, I think it wasn't the whole government's finest hour, and that's why the inquiry is so important. And we also need to make sure that compensation is paid.
It's still a scandal, and we started this year with, you know, an ITV drama, and everyone thought that's great, it's on the telly. That'll be sorted out, and then, of course, it hasn't been.
Are you saying that ITV dramas aren't solving this? Because that's not a world I want to live in.
No. Yeah. And I think we find Inspector Morse had a very successful hit rate. Solved a lot of things.
Phew.
Yeah.
God.
Anyway, we've got that out the way. I mean, they just got to get on with it, and I think various leaders of other political parties who've got a bit of a record on this should devote themselves to it.
Yeah. I think that's fair enough. You gave him a little bit of a hard time, but he wasn't like the worst of them, so you know, you don't sit there and absolutely fucking rag on him.
Definitely.
But I will still continue to do the joke about him being a remorseless killer.
I was watching and thinking, I wonder what Ed Davies up to today. And I think he came over, it was interesting what cut through he achieved with this, because I did think it was ridiculous at the beginning, but it really worked.
And it really
he came
worked.
over as a likeable, decent man.
Well, no, it didn't.
And he got results.
It didn't work.
He got the best result.
Well, they didn't increase their vote share.
No, but they did increase the number of seats to a record level. So, like,
Well,
for the
people
Lib
just-
Dems, that's something, I think, isn't it?
But that was just people tactically voting. Like, the way how concentrated their vote was, so incredibly concentrated.
True, but you've got to bear in mind that in the first past the post system, even if you can just convince people to tactically vote for you, given literally he was in the austerity government, and to get people to forget about that and see them as the nice, friendly, cuddly party to the point where you can vote for them tactically is a success.
I think you're probably right, actually, yeah. That was probably the key fulcrum of the tactic. It wasn't to try and expand the brand, so to speak. It wasn't trying to get people to realise they're a party worth voting for because they didn't realise that they were an option. It was actually to try and soften the image of, you know, all of the fucking blood that was kind of taking their hands from their time in government with the Conservatives.
Exactly, yeah. Get them back to being seen as like the nice party that, you know, not Nigel Kennedy. Charles Kennedy thing, yeah.
Although I did hear Charles Kennedy was a pretty damn good band leader.
He was excellent violinist.
Absolutely, 100%. Although the thing is, because I do think that really it was the ground game that got Liberal Democrats the seats that they did. It was getting activists on the ground in the target seats that got people to vote for them, and I don't think Ed Davies' fucking paddleboard shenanigans were as big a factor as people are trying to claim they are.
Also, Charles Kennedy walked past me and my drunk friend as we were leaving Live 8. He was smoking a cigarette. This is a thing I remember.
Well, there you
I'm
go.
also old.
Is for the Liberal Party.
It certainly
so
did.
I thought it was really interesting.
Susanna, what about you?
Well, it was an extraordinary election result for the Labour Party. But I think my political moment of the year was that within weeks of winning, they announced they were going to ask pensioners to help pay off this £22 billion black hole and withdraw the winter fuel allowance from anyone who's not on pension credit. And the threshold then was at around £12,000. And I think a lot of people who voted Labour thought, hang on a moment, I'm not sure I voted for a Labour government to then take money away from the poorest in our society. Many people supported the fact that winter fuel allowance is paid to millionaires.
I think the poorest in our society are probably a lot of the children who are starving. Whilst it is correct to say that lots of people who are poor and who aren't well off missed out because of the reduction in fuel payment, and it is causing an increase in fuel poverty. But the poorest people in society, I think it's those third children, actually.
Yeah.
And that needs to be taken away. But the threshold was set very low. And of course, this came at exactly the moment that members of the Labour government, including the new Prime Minister, were being criticised for accepting freebies of thousands of pounds. So on the one hand, they're accepting freebies, and on the other, they are asking people on £12,000 incomes to go without up to £300 at a time when we've got a winter where fuel bills have gone up.
I mean, Andy, were you surprised by the sort of early missteps of Starmer's team?
I think going into government is really difficult, and as Yvette Cooper said, I don't think any government's had a worse inheritance than this. Honestly, on every level. I actually, on the record, agree with you. I think there was a case for reform because it does go to very wealthy pensioners, and whether that's justifiable, I would say possibly not. But the threshold, I said, like you, Susanna, probably should have been higher.
And for you, Andy, what would be the big thing that sticks in your mind for 2024?
I mean, the image of the year was on the screen, wasn't it? Rishi in his suit outside at Downing Street. If he'd spent more time in Manchester, he would have known to have an umbrella with him at his side, and that wouldn't have happened.
True.
But the sadness for me was that came, the calling of the general election, 4 days after, I think, the single biggest political event of the year, which was the conclusions of the infected blood inquiry, because they were earth-shattering. Basically, Whitehall should have been rocked to its foundation.
I have a friend who's paid out by that.
The British state lied about infection.
Wow.
Yeah, like 5-figure payout because his mum died because of it.
Fuck, that's mad shit.
Did blood for 5 decades and caused huge damage to, honestly, thousands and thousands of British families, and lied to me as Health Secretary, saying that nobody was knowingly given unsafe blood products. They were. And it's just the frustration sometimes of Westminster that the attention just goes off something that fundamental.
Which has made a change to a lot of people's lives.
And there is still another outstanding injustice, nuclear test veterans, very similar to infected blood. Please, in 2025, justice for those nuclear test veterans.
OK, well, a reminder there, as we draw to a close, that change can be a very long time coming, but sometimes, in the end, it does arrive. It's been great having the three of you with us for the last show of
What's
the year.
your favourite? Given that you're having these moments, what's your favourite political moment of 2024?
My favourite political moment of 2024 is being able to share all of these things with you.
Oh, that's sweet. I mean, it has obviously been so much fun to fucking tear into these people. Like we always look forward to our Thursday question times. We really do.
Yeah, it's honestly so much. It's cathartic to scream at idiots.
It really is. Like, I was just scrolling through some of my videos on my feed, right? The one where you shouted at the pensions minister when she said that, or was it Osama? It was Osama Mir that you shouted at for saying that. Well, if you're trying to say that we might be able to increase productivity if people are less sick, and you were just like, well, fucking of course we would be.
Yeah. Are people in a coma more or less productive than people not in a coma?
Yeah, you got really angry. There's so many funny bits. Let me find something.
Apparently Hislop also had a go at Davey for the taking tickets to the concert, to the Taylor Swift concert, but I don't have a link for that, so that is useless information.
Yeah. What was I gonna? Oh, actually, Chris Philp asking if the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Rwanda were different countries, and then he got that incredible clip of the audience actually like face palming in unison, like that GIF of all the audience. Yeah, literally that happening directly.
Ashworth losing his seat was good too. Yeah. Although, to be fair, that has been somewhat soured by the fact that he's been on TV every day since.
Oh, that has soured it. Although the video of Thangam Debonair standing there with her arms folded whilst everyone else is applauding Carla Denyer, that was hilarious. That was very funny. Return the sausages.
Return of the sausages. That's still on my sound alert. Yeah, love it.
That's never. He's never going to live that down. It's going to be 5 years from now, and people are still going to be talking about releasing the sausages.
Fuck yes. Unbelievable shit. What else have we had? Nigel Farage being milkshaked.
That was good.
That was solid. Yeah, there have been a
few.
Kemi
Badenoch saying that she's not afraid of Doctor Who.
Yeah, launching her leadership campaign by attacking one of the most loved actors in the country. Brilliant. I mean, that can only bode well for the future. Excellent work. Yeah, no, it's been fun. Yeah. I don't know why we're talking. It's not the end of the year yet, but it's. Yeah.
I mean, they were talking about it themselves, so I thought it might be worth.
Yeah, well, it's their last thing. Whereas,
Yeah.
Although there isn't another question time now until next year, and there isn't another one of these. So I mean, presumably we'll never speak to each other again.
Oh, I'll tell you an excellent moment, especially if the election campaign was Nick Robinson waving a burger in Adrian.
Oh my God. Oh, I totally forgot about the burger. And the pint glass full of fucking Lego bits that was meant to represent something. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh my god! Actually, there was a moment where I posted on TikTok where we were playing Starmer Bingo, and you said something like, "I'm 1 away on 4 lines. I'm furious," and that stuck. That really stuck. Oh no! Another thing for the election campaign: Keir Starmer getting laughed at in the interview when he said his dad was.
Yeah, and then amazingly, he was genuinely confused because the next day was saying like that it was classism. Like people thought that they were laughing at his dad for being a toolmaker. Well, no, it wasn't. They weren't marking your father's profession. It was that you raise it every 5 seconds, and eventually someone must have told him because he then stopped saying it for a bit. He did amazing shit. That was lovely. Yeah.
Honestly,
it's been bants.
It's been really, really funny. Let me have a look. I'm trying to have a look. I'm probably gonna have to go through all of my videos from the year and do a best of compilation. Because honestly, there was so many moments, right?
True. Did you put out your rant from Thursday? Your amazing rant?
I did. Yeah, I did
the
whole NHS segment from Question Time. I uploaded as a bit.
Fuck yes, because that was.
Yeah, it was a good moment. It was a good moment.
Yeah, true.
But it's also crazy to think, like, I'm looking back through like the years of videos, and it's just Israel. It's been going for fucking over a year. It's been going on fucking 14 months.
Mad.
Jesus Christ.
And now because of Syria, no one's even talking about it. Even though, did you see a tiny little article? They're planning to expand their settlements on the Golan Heights.
Of course they are.
Because apparently the Hamas or something? Question mark?
Yep. Basically, that's all it could possibly be. I'll tell you what. Us getting David Menzer as a soy jack, as an angry soy jack.
Yeah.
That was a good moment.
Solid as well. Yeah. Definitely.
The Rachel Reeves, like weird photo shoot in the toilet.
I don't even remember that. What?
Yeah,
weird photo shoot in the toilet.
The photo shoot of Rachel Reeves, and it looks like she's in like a school changing room toilet with weird like tiles, like a tiled floor.
No, this is completely.
Yeah, if you Google Rachel Reeves Telegraph photo shoot, it's honestly it's genuinely feel like they deliberately tried to make her look stupid.
Hang on. Oh God, yeah. Oh no, she does. Yeah, she looks like she's in the shower block or something. Yeah.
She really does. Oh my God, fucking Ice-T beefing with Keir Starmer.
Oh my God, yes, that did happen. She looks, honestly, in that photo shoot, she looks like a character from like Scum or something. Like the mistress is about to fucking stab someone. She's about to I don't know, fucking peg Rafe. No, what's his name? Ralph, whatever his fucking face is, the actor, whose name I can never fucking remember. Anyway.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that is very bad. Anyway, yeah, it's been emotional.
Yeah, it has been. It's been a time. It's been a time.
It has.
It will definitely go down as one of the years of all time.
One of them, certainly. Assuming we get to the end and that human existence isn't erased before the end of the year. Fingers crossed.
I mean, one hopes. One hopes that that's going to be this. That's what's going to happen. That's one hopes that's not what's going to happen, right?
No, you speak for yourself.
I mean, depends where and how many and who.
True, I guess. She looks like she's about to do 101 Dalmatians. That's sort of her vibe anyway. Like, she doesn't dress as flamboyantly as Cruella de Vil, but she's got the de Vil vibes. She's business hours Cruella de Vil.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And on that bombshell, I'm going to bed.
Yeah, me too. I'm very tired now.
Fair enough. Everyone go and follow No Justice of the MTGs on the video.
And if you're not, yeah. Sorry, you're going to say on the various platforms, and also, yeah, if you're not following Kevin Logan, what the fuck are you doing with your life?
True.
Like, what are you doing with your life if you're not following Kevin Logan? I command you.
Everyone go and follow No Justice of the MTG. Yeah. I'll be back tomorrow. Are you streaming tomorrow? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a Monday, so I'll probably streaming in the evening once Normal Island's finished.
Fair enough. Yeah. I'll be on with hopefully Christy. I think she's back from I nearly said Denmark when I meant to say Belgium. Who is going that we can raid into?
Mooncat, to go over the Stephen Bartlett drama.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which is worth. I was tempted to go into it, but I realised it's probably a little bit out of my wheelhouse. Basically, he's been promoting medical misinformation because he's a fucking grifting moron.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking forward to his downfall. What a prick.
True. Hello, Sister Rose in before the end. Everyone go and follow Sister Rose as well.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Indeed.
As always, take care.
Hang on a minute. I haven't done my Raiderino yet.
Okay.
1 second. Yes. Everyone go and follow Mooncat and all that shit. I'll be back.
Spam the Corbyn emo. I demand you to go into the Mooncat chat and spam the Corbyn emo.
True. It's goodbye from me and goodbye from No Justice MTG.
And free Palestine.
No pass around.
Bye.